Hey guys, welcome in. Feel free to share the room out, let everyone know that we're live. If you'd like to join me up on stage, just tap on the mic in the bottom left. I'm going to be waiting for my co-host to roll in here before we get started. But if you have any questions or feedback for me, feel free to tap the mic and join me up on stage in the meantime. Once again, if you're just joining us, share the room out, let everyone know that we're live. And if you want to join us up on stage, just tap the mic in the bottom left. What's going on, Zach?
Another beautiful week in crypto. Great to see that price action on Sunday and it carrying through and holding quite strong. So very excited and I really think this is going to take us into a new era of Bitcoinization when we start backing assets with Bitcoin. I think that's like a generational shift to new ideas, and there's going to be a lot of people that are copying or imitating or maybe doing some alternatives of what Terra Luna is doing now.
I agree. It does feel like we're going to head in that direction. It makes a lot of sense. Scott, welcome in.
Thanks. Glad to be back with everyone. Another good week. So excited for tonight, and yeah, it's been a good week so far.
I really think this Bitcoin backing is like a fantastic expression of like Bitcoin being base money or being the ultimate property. If you think about gold, for as long as fiat currencies existed, or I guess from when they started to the late 70s or early 70s, they were all backed by what was the best property available, which was gold, and that was considered the base money. And then you had fiat that lived on top of that base layer, and that's exactly what's happening today with Luna. Is you have base money Bitcoin, and then currencies that live on top of that base money that are backing it. I think that just makes perfect sense, and that's going to naturally overtake the market in a very radical way.
Welcome in, guys. I see a lot of new faces coming in. Feel free to share the room out, let everyone know that we're live. And if you want to join us up on stage, tap on that mic in the bottom left. So tonight's main topic, but doesn't have to be the one we stay on all night, is UST backed their stablecoin by Bitcoin. If we could get on to, I'd like to know more about that too, like the schedule on which they're buying Bitcoin and stuff, if any of you guys know that. And is this going to be like a new norm? Are more stablecoins going to back themselves with Bitcoin? Is CBDCs going to be backed by Bitcoin or maybe partial Bitcoin? Or maybe other random crypto assets? Are they going to start considering maybe backing their assets by Bitcoin too as well? So it's a really interesting kind of thought experiment. Also, we're going to be doing our usual Celsius AMA, so feel free to tap on the mic at any time and come up and ask us any questions related to Celsius. And if you have any feedback for us, we'd greatly appreciate that as well. Zach, do you know what the schedule is for buying the Bitcoin till they get to 10 billion?
I don't know if like there's an exact schedule, but I thought he's been buying around $100 million worth per day, and plans to do that all the way to 10 billion. I'm not positive if that's like a set in stone thing or if they're going to cut short of that, but that's what I heard. And again, I'd love to know if anyone else has better information on that.
Do we know how much they've bought so far?
Yeah, I think they're at 1.2 billion now. So 12% of that $10 billion total.
Got it. And you're sure that it's per day and not per week?
I'm not sure, but from my understanding, they were doing about $100 million a day. It was a pretty aggressive pace.
Yeah. If any of you guys want to come up and hang out with us on stage and chat about this, feel free to do so. Scott, are there any updates on your end or anything like that you'd like to share?
Almost. By the time next Tuesday comes, we'll probably have a few more, or I'll have a few more. But we're doing a lot with the ambassador program, leaps and bounds. We're moving at lightning speed, so can't announce much right now because we're still laying the groundwork for it. But pretty soon we'll be able to announce a lot more. But exciting times for sure. And one thing I want to touch on, speaking about Bitcoin, is I think this is if you imagine a lake and you drop a pebble in the lake and then you see the ripples start to move out, out, out. I think that's what's happening with Bitcoin. And I think you see it in different ways. You see it by UST backed by Bitcoin. You see Michael Saylor's company taking out a crypto loan for what was it, $100 million or $200 million. So you're starting to see more ripple effects. You're going to start to see more institutions, mom and pop shops using some of their treasury to buy Bitcoin a little bit more, a little bit more. So I just see all of this as a ripple effect, and I'm not quite sure where it's going to end up. But one thing I do know is because I think it's going to benefit all of us. I think all boats are going to rise as the ripple continues to expand. So I'm very encouraged by all of this that I see with Terra, Michael Saylor, and so forth. So very excited.
Luke, welcome up on stage. What's going on, man?
Good evening. Doing well. Hope everyone's doing good as well. Looking forward to tonight. To add to the conversation about Luna and their stable coin using Bitcoin, there's a great interview that I shared on my tweet. It's near the top. Pomp had an interview with one of the co-founders of Luna. It's Pomp. It's like a tongue twister. The Pomp podcast. It's episode 880. And so if anyone wants to check it out, it's about 30 minutes long, that interview, and they kind of break down some of the details. At the time of the interview, I don't think they had started the buying, which I think they have now, but I can't remember all the details. But yeah, the goal is to get to 20 billion, and I think he was quoted as saying, the co-founder, is if they accomplish that goal using the transaction fees to buy Bitcoin on a regular basis and add it to the treasury to stabilize their stable coin, it's a bet on Bitcoin and it's a bet on their stable coin. So they feel like, if Bitcoin's going to succeed, their stable coin is going to succeed. So I echo what Scott said. It's really encouraging to see more and more institutional companies backing their assets with Bitcoin, and it's just stable. It's going to make the price go up, but at some point it's going to stabilize the price, in my opinion. You could look at the trend. I mean, we had a what they call a lower high, and it felt like we kind of established that maybe around 30,000 mark, and we had a good floor, and now we're starting to build again. So if anyone wants to check that out, look at my Twitter feed. It's at the top of my page.
Yeah, when you're looking at the technicals, like I just see a year of consolidation from the high in early 2021, or a high point, right, the 65,000, all the way to today, and it looks like kind of like an ascending channel. And if you were to zoom out and look at the scale of it, I think Plan C's right that we're going to see. I'm even a little more bullish than Plan C. I think we're going to go above 200,000 this cycle, and like we've had some really good consolidation and accumulation in the 30,000 range, and that's just going to benefit holders. I don't think this cycle is anywhere close to over.
Damn, over 200K. I don't know, man. There's too much stuff going on in the world. I'm not sure if I'm sold on that.
Well, that's all that bad news is behind us. So I think it's just going to be more positive as time goes on. And like we saw, someone was talking about how like Fed rate hikes, for example, would be bad for risk assets and therefore bad for Bitcoin. If you look at the growth period of Bitcoin, it happened in a period of increasing interest rates. So I don't think it has that much to do with or interest rates don't have that much to do with Bitcoin long term or even medium term, but things like the world losing confidence in the dollar or trading commodities in gold and Bitcoin, I think are going to take it to astronomical levels.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that the interest rates would make it harder on Bitcoin because they're sucking money back out of the system. There's less money flowing, around in the system. And usually, whenever there's more money flowing around the system, it ends up in high risk assets like Bitcoin. But you're right. That narrative of not trusting the U.S. dollar anymore is really powerful. So we'll see what happens. Tom, I believe you were up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for having me, guys. And I'm not exactly sure what you guys like the best, but I think this is a huge step forward for Bitcoin and Luna. I think they both benefit a lot because with Bitcoin, with other tokens buying Bitcoin, it shows their confidence in it. And then with Bitcoin on the reserves of Luna, it shows like I think in a lot of people's minds it kind of associates Bitcoin with Luna. And so on a marketing level, I think that's really powerful because, when people come into the space, they buy Bitcoin and then they probably buy Ethereum. But, maybe now it's Luna is the second thing they buy.
I think kind of like how we saw DeFi summer and staking assets or yield farming. I think Luna's success here is going to be duplicated by a large number of projects, and we're going to see a ton of projects backing stable coins or other interesting things with Bitcoin. And then I'm sure we'll see it on Ethereum as well, like using that same principle of backing their stable coin or their other asset with Ethereum or Bitcoin or both, or combination of many different things. So I think this door is just opening right now, and in the next 6 months we're going to see a whole new kind of suite of projects and products that will reflect that kind of innovation we saw in DeFi summer of 2020.
Everyone backing their assets with Bitcoin causes a lot of buying pressure.
Yeah, exactly, and that's like as they're the most trusted assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, most trusted assets, they're going to be the natural go-tos. And then as those prices rise, it's going to rise the whole market, and that's how we get to astronomical levels.
Zach, you were talking earlier, like what was it, 2018 or so, whenever they raised up to 2%, and Bitcoin still was still on the rise, right? That's what you were talking about, was it?
Yeah, I think it was in 2015 they started rising interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
They got off zero or near zero, and then from 2018 to like the end of 2019. I'm sorry, from 2015 to the end of 2019. They're still printing money, but they were raising interest rates. So I think it's good to differentiate the two. Like the money supply is going to continue to increase regardless of the interest rates, and the interest rates cannot get very high. We're not going to see 5% interest rates ever again in the U.S. in this financial system. So I think that's an overrated kind of short-term stat that is not going to hurt Bitcoin, medium to long term.
I think it would be interesting to see if they accidentally rose interest rates into a point where it would bring us into a recession, and then how Bitcoin would perform in its very first actual recession.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a recession at some point, but and we haven't seen Bitcoin do that. Is it seen as a risk asset or is it seen as a safe haven asset? But to think that the Fed or the monetary system can support interest rates that are anywhere close to the inflation rate today, I don't think mathematically it even makes sense. Like the interest on the debt would be a huge percentage of all taxes paid, if not more than that. So I think, and I look around the world and what kind of Western country or even like first world economy has a real rate of interest on their fiat currency. I look at Japan. I look at the euro. I don't see anything. I look at the UK. Their interest rates are all zero, near zero. Why? Who would ever think, or why would we ever diverge and say, oh, yeah, we're going to bring interest rates back to 5, 6, 7% in order to have robust monetary system? Like, I don't think that's even in the cards.
I don't think that's. Oh, I don't think that system they'll let fail until the new system is ready. So, like, whichever L1s you think are really good, I think they have to develop a little more before I think we see that.
Well, like, letting something fail, or like timing its failure. I don't know how much control they have over that, but I think the next big domino is oil being traded in other currencies besides the dollar at a large scale. And
it's already happening. The
you
yuan
know,
is now being traded.
So I'm saying, ready or not, like, that's going to be a tipping point, and that's where we'll start to see the dollar lose a considerable amount of value, 5, 10, 15%, I would think, in a very short period of time, and then that escalate or cascades into all kinds of other knockoffs. So are they going to rise rates into something like that? Or are they going to lower rates to avoid a depression? Like, I think the Fed has taken a stance since the Great Depression that anytime the economy slows down, we lower rates. They never raise rates into bad news. And when they did that, it caused a Great Depression, and that and many other things. But I just don't see any Western economies or developed economies have responsible monetary policy. They all take rates down to zero and have much higher inflation, and are going to run the currency until it collapses. Then they'll say, "Oops, let's do something else now." It's like when the Fed says, "Oh, we're not forecasting a recession." I don't think in the history of the Fed they ever forecasted a recession. It's always everything's great until it's not, and then we have to do something emergency, and then we get it better, and then everything's great until it's not. They don't know. They either know what they're doing and are screwing up on purpose, or they have no clue whatsoever.
A lot of this is based on confidence as well. That's why they do things like gauge consumer confidence. So it's all a game. Babu, I believe you were up next.
Oh, yes. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go for it.
Yeah, hey. I have a question regarding the stable coins. So, are there any risks putting my savings in stable coin and get the yield?
Yeah, there's risk in everything. First of all, there's a risk that you're gonna die every day, so there's always risk, right? But when it comes to
Yeah,
stable
other
coins,
than that.
yeah, when it comes to stable coins, there's a number of risks that come to mind. One, you have to trust the stablecoin provider. So be it USDT, be it DAI, be it Terra Luna, be it USDC, whichever one you have, you're basically putting your value into that stablecoin, and you're taking a third-party risk there. On top of that, you have to trust the chain that runs on. So if it's Ethereum, if it's USDC on Ethereum, you have to trust that Ethereum is going to work. And then on top of that, if you're going to hold that stable coin with a company like Celsius, you have to take another third-party risk, which is holding that with us, trusting us that we are acting in your best interest, or being responsible, and you're going to be able to take out those stable coins at any time. So there's definitely risks involved, and you've got to judge all of those different levels of risks and see what's the best move for yourself.
Okay, so I mean, in terms of the okay, there are those risks, but then in terms of the probability of happening them, is it a low probability?
I can't give you a probability number. That's like saying what's the probability of anything. I have no idea. That's something you have to judge for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can't come on here and say, oh yeah, everything's gonna be fine, no problem. You're gonna be safe no matter what. I don't know that, and that's irresponsible to say.
So basically,
they do have insurance now via Risk Harbor and Nexus. They've had insurance with Nexus, but you might want to look into that, Babu.
Okay.
The insurance is tricky too. Like, it's often it doesn't cover a lot of things. Like it doesn't cover lending, and then they don't pay out on a lot of things as well. Nexus doesn't pay out on every time money gets lost for whatever reason. It's not FDIC insurance, right? Like no one in the US has lost money at their bank because the government has an insurance program. That is not how this works in crypto land.
So does it make sense, let's say, spreading my dollars in stablecoin across different exchanges?
No.
Alex has a good point on this. He says, like, would you put your assets in a number of more risky pools and call that diversified? And I tend to agree with him that you should find a platform that you feel the most comfortable with and is providing you the highest level of security, and stick with that, because why would you put your assets on a less secure platform?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Right now, I started putting in BlockFi and Gemini and platforms on
yeah.
exchanges.
A lot of people do this, right? And the logic is, oh, well, at least if I lose some of my money, I won't lose it all in one place at one time.
Mhm.
I would really reconsider the safety and security of the platforms that you're using, and making sure it's like you wouldn't put your money at a lesser safe bank, right? You
Yeah.
would put all your money at the safest bank.
Yeah.
So why don't you decide for yourself what is the safest place to keep those assets, and then keep them there.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Babu, did that conclude your thoughts up here on stage?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, thanks for coming up. Crypto King, you're up next.
Hey, good evening, guys. How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
Just a quick question, Zach. So MicroStrategy borrowed $204 million against their existing BDC. Was Celsius involved in any way in that transaction, in part or whole? Just curious.
I cannot comment on that.
Okay, it's a little too early. I saw a tweet by Alex Mashinsky, but it didn't say anything. So I'm sure somebody's going to ask him that. All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks for coming up, Crypto King. Reagan, what's going on?
Hey, Josh. I was actually going to ask the question that Crypto King asked, but I might ask it a little bit of a different one. But are you seeing more competition for the sort of lending and borrowing from institutions? Is that something that's is sort of on the rise and could be not a problem, but more competition for Celsius going forward?
I'm personally not. I'm seeing a lot less. Like things from like crypto.com and BlockFi having a huge capitulation on rates. That tells me that they're not in the crypto lending business, and they don't want to offer the best rates possible. That they're going to focus their revenues on somewhere else. So I think Celsius is and will continue to grow to be the most dominant liquidity provider and yield and lending app in the entire crypto industry. And we're building this back end infrastructure so that we can supply all of these businesses the ability to offer their customers yield lending and all these other products, right? Celsius isn't going to get 100 million customers on its own, but it's going to partner with all kinds of other companies in order to provide these services to get to that 100 million and billion people.
Awesome. Oh, and just quickly on sort of the USD front, but last AMA, Alex mentions that the UST might be coming to the Celsius platform. Is that right? Cheers.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is going to come to non-US users.
But no date on that as yet.
Yeah, I haven't heard a date yet. No.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thanks for coming up, Reagan. Craig, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, this Terra Luna stablecoin, is it 100% backed by Bitcoin, or is it a percentage?
I don't think it's 100%. Right now, I don't think it was backed by anything, and then now they're moving into it being backed by Bitcoin. I don't know the percentage, but what's so interesting about that as well is as Bitcoin, or if Bitcoin continues to grow in value, the backing becomes stronger and stronger, right? And then let's say Bitcoin 10x's from here, it can it allows Terra to print even more Luna that are backed 1-to-1. So again, when you get hard assets that appreciate over time against a fiat currency, your backing gets stronger and stronger against your liability, which is really interesting to see.
But also, the inverse is true. So if Bitcoin took a 70-80% dive and it's heavily backed by Bitcoin, and say they have $100 billion worth of stable coin backed by now $50 billion worth of Bitcoin,
Yeah,
wouldn't people want to sell or move their stable coin into another one that's fully backed? Like
very
USDC is backed by cash and cash equivalents, bonds,
right.
etc. Why would you want a stable coin backed by something volatile?
I mean, there's definitely some downside to that, and I guess it depends on how much collateral they end up having. Like again, people were using Terra Luna when it had zero backing; they were just using it to get that 20% yield. But now they're moving away from that and going to Bitcoin backing. So it's not like people. What are your dollars backed by right now? Nobody knows, right? But you still use them every day. So you could say that with any national currency, and people will save their entire lives or work for those fiat currencies that they have no idea what's backing them. I don't think it's as black and white as once you're slightly under collateralized, the thing is going to collapse. I think there's a lot more like trust and community and like social dynamics that go into it. Kind of like Tether, like you don't know the exact balance sheet of Tether, but everyone trusts Tether that they have the assets to back their stablecoin, right? And that's kind of what it is, the trust.
Well, Tether was audited by the New York State Attorney General, and I just don't see how the U.S. government is going to allow a dollar-denominated stablecoin to be backed by a volatile asset. I could see the U.S. regulators not allowing this in the U.S. in the future.
Yeah, what's interesting is there's like two different types of stablecoins. There's stablecoins like USDC that are backed, kind of traditionally, I guess you could say, and then stablecoins like DAI that are backed algorithmically, and those fall under two very different legal frameworks and regulatory bodies, and that's why like Celsius can't provide USDC in Texas, but we can provide DAI. They're both stable coins backed by different things, and those different things make a huge difference.
Yeah, I get you. I just prefer my stable coins backed by cash and cash equivalents rather than a volatile asset if I want cash. But
sure, yeah.
I don't see the U.S. regulators allowing this in the future. So if they ban it, and also I don't want my stablecoin backed by a community and like what their community is about. I want it backed by bonds and liquid assets. But that's just me. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming up, Greg. Nick, it's the first time I've ever seen you up on stage. Are you up here just to harass Aussie crypto, or do you have a question?
It's not really a question. It's just to say thanks to Aussie Crypto for lending me his log cabin over the weekend. Me and his wife had a great time. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, wait, can we get an interpreter? I can't understand a thing that guy's saying.
I said, fucking A, mate. I had the best time with your wife at the lodge. It was amazing, and we banged in every single room.
Much better.
My God, guys, this has been going on way too long. I think this is like the third or fourth month running. All right. Anyways, moving right along.
He sounded thirsty. It sounds like he needs a ball of water or something like that,
Yeah. Jason, you've been waiting, man. What's going on, Jason?
Hey guys, what's up? Little bit of a change of topic. Zach, on the previous Tuesday night, not last one, I think the one before that, I pitched you an idea for possible utility. Wanted to know if any consideration was into that. It was about either like the coin tracker or something like that. Because my head hurts because I've been banging against the wall doing my taxes.
Was it? Did you DM me? What?
No, we were in
What
the
was
chat. It was
the?
the very
What was it?
last. It was the very last thing to tell you. I said
yeah.
it was Platinum would either with one of our tax software partners would either get a discount or
yeah.
a subscription for the year or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's on the table.
All right, good.
It's definitely on
my
the
head
table.
hurt.
Yep.
And also on that Luna and backed by BTC, it doesn't have to be like they could take one BTC and use half of it as what they're going to do. Like say it's at 40,000, and they're only going to emit 20,000 and keep 40,000 for that 20,000. So the volatility kind of secures it. They'll have an LTV or something. I could see that being a great idea. So it's more secure. That's just to counter what Craig said about the dollar. Yeah.
Michael Saylor's loan's a 25% LTV loan. Like that's exactly what Celsius does. That's a very easy thing to do. And I don't think they have like a formal LTV on that yet. And this is just something that's forming. But as a concept, having some sort of highly regarded asset by backing the stable coin, I think is going to become more relevant and you could see an appreciation of the stable coin itself because maybe the collateral grows to be so valuable that one UST is worth more than $1.
Yeah, and we spoke about this in the morning call. This is just like the gold system before we got off of it. It's kind of the same premise.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's about it.
History doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, with one small difference, gold just doesn't continue to rip higher.
Exactly.
Gold's a little more stable. Yeah. But thanks for coming up, Jason. Or did you have more that you wanted to?
Nah, I'm good. That's all, guys. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks for coming up. Morpheus, welcome up.
Hey guys, how you doing? I just wanted to add something to the UST conversation, if I may.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks, guys. I think UST is not necessarily collateralized by Bitcoin. I think the idea here is to maintain the peg to $1. So it still remains collateralized or backed, so to speak, by Luna. But the idea with the Bitcoin purchase or the reserve is to allow to maintain peg. So in a downward scenario or a death spiral scenario, when UST demand drops and people are selling UST and claiming Luna for it, that's like a death spiral for Luna and potential to go to zero in that case. So the whole idea with BTC Reserve is that if the UST depegs below a certain level, for argument that level is yet to be determined, but for argument's sake, let's say 97 cents, then people or public will be able to convert that 0.97 UST and redeem it for Bitcoin, allowing it to come back to peg. So essentially, you would be paying a slight premium to convert your 0.97 BTC to Bitcoin. That 3% is essentially the premium you're paying because it's not worth $1. But if it goes 0.97, you can get BTC. That allows the peg to come back quicker because you can now sort of redeem it for a stronger asset or the asset that entire crypto community believes in. So it just brings the peg back quicker to the dollar and provides the downward support to the collateralized asset of Luna. And that's the broader idea of it. The idea that it's backed or collateralized. It's been talked about, but I think that's not what it's intended to do.
Yeah, no, I see it. It's not a direct collateralization model, but again, they're making Bitcoin a asset that is a part of the kind of protection, I guess, of the stable coin. Again, I think they're going to explode this model into many different iterations, and we're going to see so many other projects come out with this type of function in a few different variants and then we'll find out the best one, and that will become a major part of the crypto economy.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and there'll be changes. I mean, it's not set in stone yet; it's still evolving. Even the strategy behind it is it's still evolving. But at the moment, clearly mentioned in the interview by Terraform Labs and Do Kwon is the idea is to protect the peg of UST in case of a downward spiral, and this
Right.
selling pressure of UST. People can get a more reliable asset if they choose, which is the Bitcoin asset, for a 0.97 or a slight premium in a downward spiral. That's the intention at the moment, and it will evolve. I agree with you. It might end up looking something totally different in a year's time. Who knows? But at this stage, that's the intention. Just wanted to add those 2 cents. That's all.
Do you have any idea what would happen if Bitcoin went down and less people less people were using UST? Wouldn't that be an issue? I hope they had thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, so when Bitcoin goes down, your reserve, for example, at the moment is at 1 billion, and the intention to have it at 10 billion. It goes down to 5 billion, for example, if Bitcoin goes down by 50% of the average price. So that backing weakens clearly, but there'll still be 5 billion worth of Bitcoin to be redeemed to maintain the peg. So it is still a stronger asset compared to Luna, for example. Strongest asset in the crypto community. Bitcoin is the strongest asset. So the idea is to provide more faith in UST by supporting it with a more decentralized and a stronger crypto asset to allow in case of a downward spiral. So yes, it definitely would be an issue, but you still have that 5 million buffer versus a 10 billion buffer, for example, in theory, if Bitcoin goes down 50%. But then I suppose, if that was to happen, overall crypto market would look totally different, in that environment. That would have a lot of other impact on not just USD, but in theory, yes, the reserve shrinks by half.
Got it. Did you have any other questions, comments, or feedback up here on stage?
No, all good. Thanks, guys.
Yep, just a reminder to the group here, share the room out, let everyone know that we're live, and if you want to join us up on stage for the conversation, or if you have any questions about Celsius or any feedback for us, just tap on the mic in the bottom left. Cellcat, welcome up.
Yeah, I did have some thoughts on the Bitcoin backed stablecoin. I think it's super genius, and it's such a simple solution, really. Like it's staring us right in the face, right? It's like stable coins, right? We kind of created them because a lot of these original guys in the crypto space, we needed a way to kind of like maintain value while still being in the crypto space, right? So it's basically just been like risk management. We haven't been really using stable coins at all. It's not like we're using stable coins, right? So POV, fiat sucks. Wow, shocker. Let's start using stable coins. Wouldn't that be amazing? Using the thing for its actual intended purpose. So we start doing that. And then now, if we actually start using stable coins, then we get to a point where it doesn't matter. The fiat doesn't matter, the peg, whatever. It's one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. The stable coins are backed by it. And we stop worrying about the fiat, right? And it's like, then we can finally have people's money. But until we do that, until we stop focusing so hard on, oh, what's the price of this? What's the price of this in fiat? We're not going to escape this, right? It keeps going down this tunnel of okay, well, what's the price today in fiat? How is the government gonna? It doesn't matter. We took the power back. We created the technology. The community builds the stablecoin. The community builds the Bitcoin. Fiat does one good thing and it buys Bitcoin and that's it and it's gone. Who cares? So we move on to a stablecoin standard. We move on to Bitcoin, and you can't stop this stuff. So we can play nice with the government. We can follow regulation to a point, but there's never going to be a point where government stops wanting to control assets. There's never going to be a point where they stop. So I think that this is an excellent opportunity for us to essentially put our foot down and say, look, this is what we're doing. We're going to use stable coins for its intended purpose. We're going to back things with Bitcoin because we know it's better than gold. And we'll see how that goes. And like, let's just start making those things function and using these things for their intended purpose. And I think that that's what's going to happen. And it's just kind of people waking up to that. That's going to take a little bit of time. But, you know, I think with proper like education, with Celsians, with reaching out to different communities, right? If we can truly, you know, if we can truly explain that properly when people come to the community and say, look, we're just doing a different thing, you know, even Visa's accepting stable coins now, right? And it's going to be one of those things where it's such a big market that it's something you can't ignore. And so I think it's really important that we give power back to the people. And the way that we do that is just by taking it seriously, you know, and just realizing that, yeah, like I said, fiat does one good thing and that's it.
And it's not, and collateralizing a stable coin is not one of them.
Oh, it's awful because if you hold fiat every single year, right, that value is going down. So do you want a terrible stable coin that just sits there that's pegged to something that can be infinitely printed forever, right? Like that's just awful. Why would you want that? You know, you're basically holding the dollar again, you know, and then that's just the best situation for the government because then they can come up with all the excuses in the world, right? Oh, we're just going to keep printing it. Oh, we're just going to regulate it. Oh, you know, you guys haven't even created anything. It doesn't even matter. You know, you're not even using the one thing that you built. So I think that this is a great opportunity to just use the thing that we made, realize that Bitcoin does have value, and completely detach from the nonsense. You know, it's a beautiful thing. I think it's wonderful and just amazing. I think you guys are always 10 steps ahead. Like it's crazy. You know, like this is so far out for so many different projects, and like the fact that we're talking about this is just awesome.
I agree, and I think a lot of us are in agreement with you on the fiat front there. You have any other questions, comments, or feedback up here on stage? So okay.
I just think that this is like a huge part of history, right? This is when we actually start using stable coins. This is when we actually start using Bitcoin for its purpose, and that's just what I'm really excited to kind of witness because I've been in the space for so long. And I've seen everything try to slowly grow and evolve. And in the beginning, it was just, you know, some guy with a white paper, you know, and now we're at this point where, you know, it's like 10, 15 years later, you know, that guy wrote that paper 10, 15 years ago thinking, oh man, in 10 or 15 years, maybe this will do something. You know, now we're at that point where we're actually going to have to start doing something because the alternative, there is no alternative. There's nothing else. So we have to do this and we have to build communities and we have to build real, genuine value, something that we can all believe in and just hold on to that as hard as possible because we're never going to get another chance like this.
Agreed. For those of you that are just joining us, make sure that you share the room out, let everyone know that we're live. And if you want to join us up on stage, feel free to do that. Tap on the mic in the bottom left. Stav, my old clubhouse buddy, welcome in.
Yeah, hey Josh, you seem to have gone to the other side now on Twitter Spaces, right?
That's right.
Don't see you in there anymore. Yeah, this title looks really interesting. I've been watching what's happening with Luna, and with great interest, really. I've just come in here now, so I've not really caught what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
so I brought you up on stage because I've spent a lot of time with you in Clubhouse, and I know that you're very opinionated. You're a super smart guy in the crypto space. What do you think about what Terra is doing? What do you think about them backing their stablecoin with Bitcoin? Do you think this is going to be a trend moving forward? Do you think that you're going to see other stablecoins doing it, or maybe some other crypto assets trying to pull this off, or maybe trying to do some mixed collateral things? Do you think like we've kind of this whole way, like they're basically creating this whole new way of thinking in the crypto space, and then everyone's going to copy it? What do you think?
yeah, I find it really interesting. So I've only just been looking into it the last few weeks. I've been quite busy with work, but it's fascinating to see somebody, the CEO of Luna saying that essentially is trying to build Bitcoin's layer 2, and from the sound of it. And am I right in thinking that they use a debit credit card in Korea called Chai, where people can actually spend this stable coin into normal currency? I'm not sure. I'm still catching up on it, but I'm watching it like a hawk. It's very interesting because you've got a situation in the world where people are used to fiat currency and they're not used to Bitcoin. And here you've got this sort of mishmash of trying to bridge the gap and say, look, you can store your value in Bitcoin, or you can switch to fiat and you can spend it. So I don't know what he's trying to do. If you stake with Luna and you earn 20%, you're probably keeping up with inflation only just because the CPI, we all know that's not real, and I reckon that the inflation rate of the dollar right now is more like 15-20%. So yeah, essentially it's a good, let me put it this way, for my personal swing trading at the tops of markets, I've thought to myself, maybe switching to a stable when the markets are overheated, use Luna to earn interest while the markets calm down, and then move back into it. So I suppose it's quite a nice tool for swing traders to use, and that's as far as I've gone with it, Josh. I've not really looked any deeper into it to be able to comment any further, but I'm looking at it with great interest. It certainly looks like a killer app for Luna to really go on the center stage. Oh, and one more thing. I'm not sure about the sustainability of it. I'm trying to get my head around the sustainability of this stablecoin. It seems that it's more advanced, like a second generation of the existing stablecoins out there, and it does seem superior. But I'd be interested to delve deeper into it over the coming weeks and see how stable this coin's going to be.
Well, if Bitcoin continues to go up over the long term, it might actually work out for them, but it's contingent on that, and it's contingent on people using their stablecoin, and more people using it as well. But I'm sure that they've worked this all out. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's interesting, Josh, that this 20% headline figure is going to attract people who are looking for staking rewards. And I'm wondering, is this Bitcoin Treasury Reserve that Luna's buying, are any of those, is any of that going to be used to prop up the sort of APR and keep it high to attract more users? So yeah, just very, very interesting. Yeah, but I'd like to hear what other people have got to say as well in this room. Thanks.
Yeah, Morpheus, did you have something you want to add onto this?
Yes. Hey, Steph. So with that 20%, 19.5% is one of the in-house protocols of Terra ecosystem, and you're right. It's around that 19.5%. It's pretty much like a bank account where you deposit the money and take it out when you like, and it's sort of a marketing budget, so to speak, to attract new people to the ecosystem, and there's a proposal already approved, so that yield is not sustainable, and it's going to go down by 1.5% per month over a period of time, and that's contingent if there's a yield reserve pool. There's about 400 odd million sitting in that pool. I think 370 million sitting in the pool as of this morning, and as long as that pool is topped up, the rate won't drop. And if the pool is not topped up, then the yield will drop by 1.5% per month. and the idea to give high yield is to attract adoption. And I think with your what you said is about stablecoin, demand when the market goes down. I think that allows a very defensive mechanism, for the actual Luna token, because how it works is when more stable coins are minted. So in theory, when it's high risk, people switch to stable coins, and if UST was more adopted, you would see people going to stable coins, which would then mean UST is minted and the Luna token on the other side equivalent amount is burnt. So that reduces the supply of Luna and sort of provides that downward protection. That's where the Luna token comes in, and that's the collateral of UST essentially. Bitcoin comes into play is more when there's a depeg. So technically a collateral means if you got 20% of Bitcoin to a $1 of UST, you can have 20% of Bitcoin instead. But it's not the case here. Here, if the dollar is going to be say 3 or 4% less, you could get the full Bitcoin. So you're only paying 3 to 4% premium, and that's the idea of maintaining peg and not collateralizing. So there's like you said, it's very interesting and how it's going to evolve in the long run. And at this stage, they seem to be ticking the right boxes, but who knows? Long term, who's seen the future? Nobody has a crystal ball, but it is very interesting.
Thank you for that explanation, Morpheus. And that is very, very clever what Luna's doing, because it almost tries to create a non-correlated asset in that, like you say, when markets are going down, if people are buying UST, it'll be burning Luna, which is putting upward price pressure on the Luna price during a bear market. So yeah, fascinating tool. Another fascinating tool that crypto's creating. Yeah, definitely going to watch it carefully. Josh, will Celsius be adding Luna staking? Is that an option? I'm thinking of joining Celsius soon.
I believe we're going to be adding UST to non-US users here shortly. Yep.
Wow, awesome. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Steph. Long time.
It has been, yeah, and it's now nearly 2 a.m. in the UK. I'm going to have to go to bed, so I'm going to go on silent and just listen in as long as I can while I fall asleep. But yeah, always a pleasure, Josh. Thanks for inviting me up.
Yep, thanks for coming. Araceli, what's going on?
Hey guys, how are you guys doing? Hope everyone's doing well. And hello to everyone. I have 2 questions today from the Hispanic community. The first one is from Gabby. She noticed that she was whenever she helped onboard somebody, they were getting a $5 reward in ETH. And she wanted to know for how long is that going to continue. So that's the first question.
Araceli, I thought you're in the company now. You know everything at this point, right?
I know, but I told them that I was going to ask the questions personally here, and then it gets recorded so I can just go and prove the answer, right?
So they're saying they got a $5 reward. So the only thing I could think of is I think a promo still exists that it's like a transfer $20 and get a $5 reward. But I believe it's paid in Bitcoin. It was a promo that I did a long time ago. That would be the only way that they would be getting like a small amount of coin for signing up.
It looks like they're getting $5 in Ethereum in ETH.
I don't know how that's. I mean, it sounds like a type of promo, but I'm not aware of that specific promo.
Interesting. Okay, well, I'll help her send. And well, she's not gonna complain about it, right? Because
if you could ask her what she did to get that, I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, I was curious myself, but okay, I'll ask her and see. She didn't know why, and she noticed that it already happened twice, where she helped somebody else download the app. Now, let me tell you, she's in Mexico. She helped them. I don't know if that has to do with it. So they got the locked $50, and plus they got the $5
and a $5 on top of it. That's strange. I don't know what that is. I mean, it's good. 55 is better than 50, but I'm not sure why that is.
Araceli, could that be the Spanish speaking channel that you have on Mondays, could that be for them new people coming in and asking questions? Don't they have a $5 award for that?
No, that's Santos. He is giving them 5 cell tokens for
Oh, okay.
participating and
Yep.
questions. Yes. Um, and then I did also hear from Laura, and she's here. She also, her last 3 signups, they also received the $5 reward in ETH. So, but okay. Well,
Yeah, if you could send me a screenshot of that would be great from either your friend or from Laura. It would be good to know. I'm not sure what that's coming from.
perfect. We'll do. We'll get screenshots and I'll send them over to you, Zach. The second question was, well, this person, her name is, what is it? Abigail. She's in Mexico as well. And oh no, I'm sorry, she's in Colombia. She has $100,000 worth in crypto and Celsius, and she's planning to buy a property, and she was wondering if she could get some sort of statement or document to prove that she holds those assets and Celsius in order to apply for a loan.
Yeah. We can provide like a type of account statement. So have her call or email the support and ask for an account statement, and in a few days they can generate one for you and send it over. It'll show the total value of the coins that you have with Celsius at the time.
I will let her know, and I guess I'll help her prepare that letter and translate, because once again the language becomes a barrier here.
Right, for sure.
But I will definitely give her a hand, and thank you guys so much for all the support, and everyone is extremely excited for all the projects that are coming over. I know Santos' room on Monday has been growing.
Yeah, I saw you guys had 30 people this week.
Yeah, he did. He was pretty excited, very happy,
Fantastic.
and it's hopefully more people keep joining us and learning and asking as many questions as they can. So please remember, every Monday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, there's that room in Spanish. So thank you.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of people. I mean, as crypto kind of becomes recognized more as a legitimate asset, when people are making large purchases like a house or becoming accredited or many other things, especially Celsius has become a significant part of their income. We're getting a lot of requests for statements or for, sending out their W-2s. Now they have an actual proof of the income they're earning from their crypto. And I think that's all moving in a very positive direction. But yeah, I mean, you can use your crypto as a real asset to get accredited, or that income is real income to use it to, help your financial situation in more ways than just the money coming in every week.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. And Zach, one more thing. You check your DMs. The screenshots were just sent to you right now. So
Okay, perfect.
whenever you get a chance. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful evening.
Thanks for coming up, Araceli. Reminder to the group, if you'd like to share the room out, we'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want to join us up on stage, just tap that mic in the bottom left. I just got word I don't think Alex will be joining us tonight. Looks like he might be off on a secret mission. But do take advantage of myself, Zach, and Scott, as we are here to answer all your questions related to
Josh, you always
Celsius.
say it like that. It just sounds so strange.
It feels right to me.
Take advantage of us. Take advantage of us.
That's
Next thing
just
you know,
my
I'm
nature.
gonna have NicroStrategy knocking on my door. You know what I'm saying? Like
knocking on
be
your mom's
careful.
door.
Yeah, knocking on my mom's door. Yeah.
Yeah.
God forbid he finds out where my sister lives.
Probably already has. Cellcat, what's up, man?
None of us are safe. Okay. Just kidding. Shout out to NicroStrategy. You guys are hilarious. Yeah, so based on, the success of what Luna's doing here, I mean, I've heard cool things about QiDao and like the potential backing of stable coins with Cell Token. Is that something you can talk about?
Yeah, actually, there's public proposal right now with the QiDao community on having Cell Token backed or accepted as collateral for their My stablecoin. So that's a real thing, and I think that whole initiative is going very well. Shout out to the team that's been working on that. So yeah, that's a real thing, and I encourage everyone to check that out and let QiDao know that you want Cell Token as a accepted collateral on their platform.
Yeah, because that is way bigger than we realize. I think that's massive.
Yeah, what if we get those stable coins and now we can deploy Cell Token, get stable coins to back it, and then earn a significant amount of yield on those stable coins? That would create a lot of value that could then be directed back to Cell Token holders in a lot of creative ways. So, that was a huge hurdle, and that's one step of 5 other things that are going on behind the scenes to generate yield for Cell Token. I could say, like, in the last 2 weeks, the Cell team has kind of shifted from updating statuses and infrastructure things and kind of structural things within the company to putting a huge amount of focus on generating yield with Cell Token, because that is going to quite literally create the most amount of value for the longest period of time and really into perpetuity. So that's something that was always a part of the plan, but not enough time and energy was put into it, and now that it is, it's very, very exciting. So using Cell Token as collateral for stable coins as well, very powerful move.
Yeah, it's like you guys are planting the seeds now, and then it's going to create these massive, strong oak trees, and grow to be something great. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it, and it's really smart. It's really ahead of the game, and I'm super hyped about it. So awesome stuff. Go check that out, guys. QiDao. It's go let them know, because that's huge.
Yeah, it's spelled Q. I think it's QUIDAO.
QI.
QI. QI.
Just QI.
Thanks for that, Cellcat. And Jason, I saw your hand up. Did you have a question or comment?
I wanted to know, do you know if they put it up to a vote yet, or they're just discussing it?
I saw a screenshot of their Discord where a vote was being discussed or about to being put up. So if you have access to the Discord, you can see there's a topic for Celsius. I don't know how far exactly they're on the process.
I'll go check it out. I'm going to join the Discord now.
Yeah, and I invited Joshua up. I don't know if he's busy or not right now, not by his phone, but he could come up and basically describe the process of that, how it works out. I think we heard that there's a 99% probability of it succeeding. So, but that doesn't mean don't go out and help. Definitely go and place your vote if you can.
Yeah, and just like Cellcat said, like this, it starts at a small scale. It's based on the amount of trading liquidity there is on DeFi exchanges. So, this is getting our foot in the door in this route. And again, we're working on a number of other initiatives on the back end to deploy Cell. But we want to get this starting and growing and then scale it so that we can deploy as much Cell Token as possible. That's really beneficial to the token holders long term.
Any other questions, comments, or feedback up here on stage? Reagan, I noticed you're back up. What's going on?
Yeah, hey, Josh. Yeah. I was just wondering regarding the weekly yield rates and who sort of monitors those, maybe for the smaller cap tokens. I'll give you an example, like Synthetics. Synthetics native staking for almost a month now has been between 40 and 60% if you were doing it by yourself. Who or how is that sort of monitored, and when do you just sort of decide whether you can increase or decrease the rates that Celsius can provide?
Yeah, I'd say that's between the deployment and the treasury team. And every week they actually have a rate committee and look at what we're able to earn and then decide what that is. So, there's probably 10 to 15 people that end up making that decision of what assets will have which rate. But I can inquire about that and see if the synthetic rate has gone up dramatically, to see why, or if we do plan on increasing it, or why we haven't done it thus far. Usually, if it's something that just happens, there would be a delay, right? Because we're not sure it's going to remain stable. But if it's something that's consistent, then yeah, I would think that we would increase our rate to reflect that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, just sort of an interesting one, and it has actually been stable for quite a while now. So, it'd be cool to get some feedback on that. Also, in regards to the QDAO and minting the stable coins, what sort of liquidity do you think would need to be reached in order for it to be like a meaningful amount to be able to increase sort of rates on the CEL token itself?
Well, you got to think of the scale of the CEL token holdings on the community right now. So I think we have somewhere in the ballpark of 250 million community CEL token on the platform. Multiply that by the price, and you're looking at almost $1 billion worth, maybe $900 million worth. So there's quite a bit of CEL token on the platform for that income to be spread out to. And right now on QDAO, we're only going to be able to collateralize a few $1 million worth of CEL token, and so that's got to scale pretty dramatically before it becomes a material impact. But the most important thing is the process has started, and everything starts small and can grow drastically. So it's great that we got this part started, and we can work from there and increase. It's kind of up to the community as well as how much do they want to stake on DeFi exchanges like QuickSwap, because that also determines how much CEL token can be used as collateral. So it's a dance of things for sure, but this is just getting our foot into the door.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if it's possible at all, but maybe down the track, having some sort of idea as to what once a certain liquidity threshold is met, then it would equal what the sort of balance would be. So what if we hit this certain threshold, then it may do X amount to the rate and stuff like that. So just sort of I know it's way too early to be doing that.
Yeah,
but,
I'm not sure if that's a clear number yet, because there's a couple of factors that play into that. There's one, how much MAI can we collateralize, and then two, how effectively can we deploy that MAI? I don't know if the market for MAI would be okay for $1 billion, right? So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, I don't think there's a clear goal yet, but as we get closer, I would love to communicate something like that. So hopefully we can rally everybody into meeting that goal, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Did that conclude your thoughts up here on stage, Ozzy?
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, Josh. So.
Jay Gels, what's going on?
Hey guys, thanks for having me back up. I was just hoping to ask a quick question. So obviously next week is Bitcoin 2022. I think I remember hearing that, I know a lot of you guys are going to be going. Alex, I think, said that you guys are going to have one of the biggest, if not the biggest, stand setups at the conference. Obviously, it's all going to be very exciting.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. And last year, Bitcoin 2021 was a whole thing. There was a lot of hype going into it. And this year, you guys have been very quiet, as has been kind of the theme for a while now, which I think is great. When announcements are ready, just announce them, get it going. I just figured I'd drop a quick question and just ask, should we be expecting any potential surprises? Well, I know you guys aren't going to want to hype it up or
I think
anything.
it's a really good question. Yeah, I think it's a really great question. To go in a little history, last year we had a saga of mega deals. Okay, where Alex was kind of getting the community really, really excited about certain partnerships that we were going to announce, and they turned out to not to be as exciting as the community was hoping for. And it was actually at the Bitcoin conference that Cell Token was at its peak of $8. And then when we made these not so exciting announcements, that marked the top. So I think a lot of lessons were learned from that, and it kind of showed the whole team that we don't want to create that kind of hype, but we just want to deliver. And kind of like how the burn was just delivered. There was no hype; it just happened. That, I think, by far gets the best response and is the best experience. It's like buying flowers for your spouse on a random day. That surprise is the best reaction versus saying, "Hey, I promise I'm going to buy you flowers. I promise I'm going to buy you flowers," and then you buy him flowers and it's kind of already expected, not as exciting. So that's what I would say about that. And then additionally, I know that Alex likes to, or has a tendency to use these events to make large announcements. I haven't heard of exactly what's going on. I'm going to ask around and see what he has planned next chance I get. But he has a tendency to do those kinds of things.
Cool. I think that's great. In terms of, it's occasionally, some of the pre-announcements still happen and stuff. And I remember, I think it was like end of December, beginning of January, we were waiting for, a unicorn announcement. I think it was around the Celsius mining business.
Right.
We've been waiting on, like a potential token roadmap, which I know is being held up by legal right now.
Yeah.
Different
Funding
kinds of
round,
things.
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys potentially, holding back on a couple of these things to potentially announce them at a bigger event kind of a thing, just in terms of getting more attention and spotlight on it? Or is this stuff that's just going to come when it's ready?
I think we've gotten a lot better at keeping things under wraps until they're ready and going live. So again, I'm not aware of a certain announcement that's taking place during the Bitcoin conference. There may be one planned, and I just don't know about it. But we're trying to get better and better and better at that, and not pre-announcing.
Great. Well, I think that's pretty well an answer to my question. I guess I'll just say, obviously, Tushar has been talking about wanting to start a big media campaign, really ramp that up this year. If you guys did use the Bitcoin conference as a means of kind of initiating that, getting it started, and starting the push for Celsius Network to the masses, I think it'd be a great opportunity. And I look forward to everything that you guys have coming out for the conference and for the conference itself, and everything that we're looking forward to here.
Yeah. And we are going to have a community event. I can repost it, but it's on my profile from last week. Sign up to that. It's going to be a big party. You don't have to have a ticket to the conference to go to the Celsius event. It's completely free. We'll have food, drinks, and Alex always does a really spicy AMA during these things, and he drops a lot of really golden nuggets. So I highly recommend going to the Celsius event if you can make it. It's going to be on that Friday. I think it starts at maybe 3:30 or 4:30. And sign up. Look on my Twitter feed. Sign up there and then get your confirmation.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for having me up on stage, and I think that was my only question for the moment.
All right. Thanks for coming up, JJLs. Araceli, what's going on?
Guys, sorry, a few more questions came in as I was talking. One of the questions, let me read it. It says, can you please ask about the Cell app not having the country and state option and therefore not allowing you to continue with the sign up after you enter your name and referral code? So that's the question. If there's any updates in regards to that. And
What in the US?
Yeah, just to expand a little bit more on it, I've also had the same issue as well, where I'm helping somebody do the sign up through the app, and it gets to a point where it asks you for the state and the country, but there's no option available to put it in. So we have to close the application. We have to go to the web app,
Uh-huh.
finish that process, and then come back to the mobile app again.
Yeah, actually, I think that may be a bug that happened in a new version. I was just signing up my dad actually a few weeks ago, and we ran into that very thing that we couldn't find the country, and so we had to close out and we restarted the application on the phone, but there was a bug there. So let me report that and see if they're already working on it.
Perfect, thank you. And then the person is down there, so they're listening. The second one is if there is any talks or possibility that you guys will visit California.
Definitely a possibility. I would look at the events list. They released one in an AMA, like, I don't know, maybe a month and a half or 2 months ago, that had all the states that we'd be visiting throughout the year, or all the countries we'd be visiting in states. So I would check that out to see if California is on there. If not, it may be another Vegas one, because we have the company there, and you might just have to cross the border.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming up again, Araceli. Any other questions, comments, or feedback from us up here on stage? Any other questions, comments down in the audience? Make sure you're tapping on the mic to join us up here on stage.
Yeah, since Alex won't be here this evening, we'll just run through all the questions and discuss anything you want. But if that's all for tonight, we'll call it a wrap. So let us know. Last call.
We'll give you guys another couple minutes. Just tap the mic in the bottom left if you guys have any remaining questions, comments, or feedback for us. Otherwise, like Zach said, we will wrap up for the night because don't believe Alex is showing tonight.
He's traveling to a super secret meeting. He didn't even tell us. That's how you know it's really super secret. He just said, "Hey, I'm gonna be flying tomorrow, so I won't be on the Twitter Spaces." All right, no, was that no? I think this morning he told us, "Yeah, I won't be on Twitter Spaces." So yeah, what
probably with Satoshi. Let's be real.
Probably, all I know is that he's working on behalf of the community, and that's all that I know.
Yep. I see we got two people coming up. Jerry, what's going on?
Hey guys, I just had one question. I was trying to, or hoping to swap some USDC for Luna the other day, but I noticed it's not available. Is that coming up soon?
I think Luna's. Are you an international user?
No.
Okay. I don't know if Luna is for US users. That may be your first blockade, and then I don't know if it's added to swaps yet either. So that would be two things.
I just go ahead and buy it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's probably your best bet right now.
Okay. That's all I got.
All right. Thanks for coming up, Jerry.
Yep.
Norm, welcome up.
Hi, gentlemen. I have a question about the subject of the titled subject of this night. UST, my understanding is that's supposed to be a stable coin backed by Bitcoin, which is obviously not stable. So I kind of don't understand what that means. How can you back something unless you back it with way more than what the current value is? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, think of it like the gold standard. I don't know if you know this, but for the majority of the gold standard, it was not backed 1-to-1. It was backed roughly 40% to 1. So, the one right in the beginning, it wasn't backed by anything, but now they're purchasing Bitcoin to add as collateral to their stable coin. But even in the gold standard, back in its heyday, it was not 1-to-1. There was never enough gold to cover all the dollars. but it was enough to keep it stable. So assuming that a 1-to-1 collateralization is requirement, or even over that, I think history shows is not the case.
Because, you know, there were some questions about some of the other stable coins, whether they were backed by cash or securities or loans or whatever. It just sounds like an oxymoron to say something. I can understand that if it had some percentage, you know, that was established at some point that backing this coin, and then the rest of it is, you know, in other things, but just
But I think by definition, like, unless it's collateralized by cash directly, like every asset's going to be volatile. Bonds are going to be volatile. Equities are going to be volatile. Even treasuries are volatile, right? If you hold them to maturity, you'll get your dollars, but in the meantime, there's a lot of volatility between then and now. So, you know, any asset is going to be volatile to some degree, unless it's just cash, and in that case, it would be 1-to-1.
Yeah, it's just that Bitcoin is not like gold or something that's moving a little bit and it moves
It's
a lot.
better.
Anyhow, it just kind of some kind of like a little bit of
Yeah.
a hope.
I mean, it's an experiment too, Norm. Like, it's not like this is a for sure thing that's going to work or be the greatest ever. And these projects are experimenting with new strategies and new economic models, and we'll see what works and what doesn't longer term.
Yeah. Okay. And a question about an issue with the promo code that it got canceled. Can you add another promo code while something is being manually fixed, or do you have to wait for it to get fixed?
Yeah. In your case, it's basically like it's going to be manually added, and it's kind of irrelevant now in the system. It sees it as canceled. So if you were to do another promo going forward, it would have no relation to the previous canceled ones.
Okay, so I could add another AVAX or whatever, and it won't mess up
Yes.
with it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that question, and enjoy your evening, guys.
Yep. Thanks for coming up, Norm. Jay Pat, what's going on?
Oh, sorry about that. A quick question, and my apologies if you guys have already answered it. Regarding the Celsius credit card, have we heard any updates, or what is credit or debit? You know, I see a lot of news, or a lot of, at least on Twitter, a lot about the Voyager one coming out. So I know they're kind of like a competitor. So I was just curious if you guys have heard anything.
Yeah, I don't think we've had any updates since they did the South by Southwest AMA. So I think that's still the latest information, and I'd check that video out to see what they said.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, thanks. Yeah.
Thanks for coming up, Jay. Morpheus, I noticed you came back up.
Yeah, no, all good. I think I was going to add to the previous topic, but that's okay. I think it's all done.
All right. Thanks for coming up. Oscar, what's going on?
Hi there. Well, I just wanted to comment, since like Terra Luna is backing up with Bitcoin, and that's bringing a very interesting tokenomics to their ecosystem. I was wondering if within Celsius there has been talks about backing up Celsius with Bitcoin. Probably not in the same way, but in a different manner. Maybe just a portion of the value of the coin, or I don't know if there is a way to find some value or some kind of a interesting scheme to bring more value to Celsius. What do you think about that? Is that something that has been discussed? There is a possibility to do something like that for Celsius?
I think that's very interesting, but I can't comment any further than that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, it's a good question, Oscar. Thanks for coming up. Jay Gels, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me back up, guys. Just wanted to ask one more question. Just reoccurred to me. I remember a while back. Phone's glitching out on me. Yeah, okay. I think you guys can still hear me. A while back, Alex let out a tweet essentially saying, like, what ways would you want to see Cell Token integrated into the platform? And one of the things that he had up on there was integrating Cell Token in some way with the Celsius mining business. I was just wondering if you guys could speak on any potential plans or ideas you guys have had in terms of that integration.
Oh, that's saucy. I haven't picked his brain about that. I've been waiting for that announcement just like you guys. But let me. I'm gonna have to ask him to see, what he had cooking there, and if that's still on the way.
Cool, sounds good. Thanks for that. That was all from me. I'll be looking forward to any updates you guys potentially have in the future regarding that. I'd love to see an integration there.
Thanks, Jay Gels. Thanks for coming back up. Oscar, I saw you pop back up. Did you have another question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, guys. We hope you got something out of this. Looks like we went through all of our questions for the night. Like I said, Alex is busy tonight. He's off doing something important. But yep, we work very hard to keep these rooms going for you guys. Make sure you're following myself, Zach, and Scott as we do this for you as often as we can. Keep an open dialogue with you and the company. Yeah, hope you guys had a good night talking. This is a great subject. Sorry about that. UST backed by Bitcoin. I hope that this is a thing that keeps on happening in the space. And then, yeah, like Zach said, maybe we have like another DeFi summer type of thing. Could be exciting.